Hello and welcome. This is Diana and you are watching Holistic Vibes. This is going to be a general reading. Take what resonates, leave the rest. If something does resonate with you, please give it a thumbs up. It does help the energy transfer, and it's just a great way to show gratitude. Hope you are well. It kind of feels like there's been like a lot that has been like coming through as you're kind of like releasing. They just said there's relevance, confusion, perception, and impartly self-worth, right? What have you been grieving that you have been holding on to that is essentially been a key component of your personality, right? Because it's kind of like when you rewrite your story, you then can actually step into like what you're actually supposed to be. You're letting go of like what your parents, what society, what the things that are outside of you have been pushing onto you. It's you step into your own wisdom and divinity, right? You're like, I know exactly what I am. I know who I am, and I know how I'm supposed to impact, and I refuse to be shaken, right? I hold my own sword of truth, right? It's kind of like you don't need a King Arthur. You are the King Arthur, right? And you can be feminine energy too. It's just like kind of an analogy of like, you are the only person that can pull your own sword. And, it's literally going to push you into a state of, what? It's pushing you into a state of where you are your own wisdom, right? Like you know whose eyes are home. I don't know. Take it as it resonates. There's been a wedding suit that has been in somebody's closet for like a long time. And there was disruption and impediment. There was somebody who was trying to bind or hold on to an energy, and that could be the person's, right? It could be the energy of like you refusing to see, right? You not being in the heart center, right? You stepping into like your creative state of being. There is something with the collective that is happening this week in regards to the crown, the solar plex, and the heart chakra actually aligning together. I don't know if like it's bypassing the throat and the third eye, but like there is a very, maybe it has to do with transits. Maybe it has to do with like thought patterns, energetic frequencies. I don't know, but there's something happening with this alignment of like, it's kind of like sorrow and sadness of like the not taking a leap of faith when you knew you should have jumped. And maybe this comes through like self-reflectiveness of meditation, of contemplation, of... They just said understanding you are a light bearer, a light bringer, right? That you are the fortress. It's funny. I have a friend who's a shaman, and she said once, you are the portal, right? Because like when you're at a base of a mountain or by a mountain, there tends to be portals and gateways, right? It's just what happens energetically through all of the different lineages and variations that have lived on this planet, right? And energies, but we won't get into that. And so it's kind of like do you realize like you are the fortress, you are the protection? Like if you know your own strength and you know that lower energies have been impeding you, trying to keep you in a state of grief, when you step into your power and you say like, I'm a fucking sovereign being. You got to get out of my field. You're not allowed in my space. I seal up all my aura, all my rips and tears. I do it, right? Because you, if you're watching this, you have the basic fundamentals down, right? Like, you are probably working on your telepathy right now. But your intuition is probably on fire. Like, you probably can read somebody like nobody's business. And just a FYI, that's not a psychic ability. That is a human ability. We all have the ability of intuition. Every single one of us. So if somebody tries to play it off like their intuition is better or they're special or whatever, just know that, like, that's something we all can do. And what it is you start honing your tuner so that your intuition gets stronger. So you are a better read of people, right? Of energies, of animals. The shifting and changing of timelines, the identification of reading threads, like, that is something that not everybody can do. That is a very honed and specialized gift. Kind of like, think of Edgar Cayce and he is the sleeping prophet, right? He was able to go into a theta state, open up the Akashic records, and actually look to see the threads of the people you incarnated with. You couldn't do it yourself. He did it for you, right? Very interesting guy. If you've never read his autobiography, it's pretty good. At least I found it pretty fascinating. So, are you slingshotting into a brand new paradigm, right? What are you going to be rolling the dice on? What are you gambling on? How are you separating from the ego, and how are you standing on your own, in your own divine confidence, right? Where are you naming it and claiming it and speaking it into existence as truth, right? Where have you known what is to be truth, right? What you saw to be truth and someone didn't see it with you, right? Have you forgiven them for not seeing what you see, right? Because the one thing you're going to start realizing is, like, number one, we take on a lot of karma because this is still a karma planet. And then we overcome the karma, right? We clear, cancel, delete contracts. We come into our own. We go through challenging times. It allows us to kind of be broken, to be reopened, to allow the divine to mend what we've surrendered. Are you still walking with a chip on your shoulder? Are you now operating out of state of speaking truth, right? Are you owning your words, and are you actually living by the words that you're putting out into the world? Because that's going to be the thing that's going to be it's going to endure, right? Like, the thing is there's quite a misconception of, like, oh, you're aggressive, or oh, you're dominant, or you're aggro. And those aren't bad traits, right? Because if any of you know, like, warriors have to be on, right? When you're in the heat of battle, that's where, like, everything steps aside and you go into autopilot, and you essentially your training meets your preparedness, right? And so, yeah, say prepared. They were just like, it's right there. Because I wasn't even looking at the card. So, like, the thing is it's like that honoring of, like, the right where you're at, right? That you're not I'm not a soft and fluffy person. But I'm a very kind and giving person, right? Like, I will give my time to help somebody else evolve. And that's like something God always has put on my heart. It's like that following divine guidance and allowing yourself to have the strength within you, right? Because you could not have waded through the shit that you've waded through if you were not a strong individual, if you did not have that resilience, right? And so like the connection that you hold to the creator is essentially you birthing a brand new cycle. Like you are going to hold the light in your hands. And so it's really about like you pointing your where you're going and taking the leap of faith and saying, okay, God, this is really what I want to do. Like in 15 years, in 20 years, like this is going to be my desire. This is truly where I want to live, where I want to operate. So help me, open up that pathway. Like show me, like through random accounts, through like it's funny because this guy was like, oh yeah, in the middle of the night, like all of a sudden a feather would fall out of thin air, you know, and that was my sign that I knew I was on the right path. And so like ask your guides to give you that, insight, right? And to remove the disruption, allow your karma to truly release, right? Through the divination. Yeah, that, wow, okay. Thank you. They just said, like, through your resiliency of constantly being unconditional without judgment, right? Like, you may not have had a lot of money. You may have not have had a lot of resources. You may have felt very stuck and very, like with blinders on, like you were essentially in your 3D reality, right? Like you believed what people told you and there was no gray, about like the understanding that you are more than what they think you are, right? And so like, as you step in and you lean into this divine faith, there becomes an alignment through the solar plex, through the sacral, through the heart chakra, through the third eye to the crown, right? And like through those alignments, it's kind of like, I'm just getting like you know how strong you are. Like there's no gray about it. There's nothing and no one that is going to tell you otherwise, right? And the Six of Cups is in the wrong stack. I literally went to go pick it up and it was sitting on the top. And I'm like 99 points sure that it was not there, right? So like there's something in regards to like this understanding and this reconciliation of like your childhood, of like what you had to go through, what you were exposed to, and how you're rebirthing a new cycle and how you do not want that to be your current reality for your kids, right? If you have them, if they're spirit babies, like whatever it may be, right? So as you step into peace and tranquility and serenity, you're going to see 1717 and 888 like a lot, right? And it's all about like you stepping into like these new opportunities with love, with acceptance, breaking your own pattern recognition, allowing yourself to create the what you desire, and then looking at individuals that are actually living their truth, right? That are following their passions, that are living in the vibration of showing up for themselves every single day. And like, how do you need to implement a little bit of that into your own life? And how do you come into that recalibration of self, right? Allowing like all the karma to fully be released and no longer affect you, right? You operate from a higher state of being. Because it's going to transform your life, right? It's going to transform the way that you're operating. And this is kind of like an acknowledgement of the ball getting rolling, right? So I'm going to leave that there. If something in this resonated with you, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you would like a reading, like I said, I am open for readings and everything is below. Sign up for the newsletter because sometimes I do offer free readings, or I offer a reading for whatever the donation base is, right? Like you can give what you feel the desire. I have a lot of clients that come back to me when I give them, and if they're struggling, when they get on their feet, they end up giving me a donation to make up for the free session. And so, no, everything is open and we are in flow and in full allowance. So I would say, sign up. I'm also on Instagram, and I am going to start getting and doing lives. So know that that's coming. I'm still not sure about the whole being on camera. It's not my jam. I am a true seer and an alchemist, and I prefer to be in the background, right? It's just the way it works. It helps me channel a little bit easier. So I'm going to leave that there. I hope something did resonate with us, and be well, my friends. Ciao.